I know I'm kind of late on this, considering that I just give absolutely no goddamn fucks. I might as well put in my 2 goddamn fucks into this. Gonna be talking about Doom the Dark Ages. Before you write in the comments, call me a pessimistic piece of shit while you're playing the fucking game. First of all, I have put in a fair amount of time into both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. I bought Doom 2016 on all platforms, and Doom Eternal on both PC and the Switch. Doom Eternal is not worth the admission price on the console, with the only reason that at least the Nintendo Switch, Doom Eternal does come with the classic Bethesda versions of Doom 1 and 2, which are still just as ruined as they were when they first launched on Unity Doom. My opinions on Doom Dark Ages when it was initially teased has caused a disturbance in another lifetime, but that's neither here nor there. There are going to be some changes in the Doom Dark Ages that I kind of want to go over, and being that I am a Doom fan, not a Doom fanboy, I'm going to put in my 2 cents, and if you don't like that, you can leave your dislike, kiss my ass, and be on your way out. So, the first major point that I want to talk about is this whole stand and fight crap that Hugo Martin has been talking about with this game. Is Doom going to turn into a fucking tactical shooter now? Stand and fight. Really? That's the tagline that this game is going with. Why do people, even within the modern Doom community, don't even understand how and why this is fucking stupid? As much as I absolutely detest the direction that Doom 2016 decided to go towards following the events of the cancelled Doom 4 version, wasn't the whole winning formula comes from the fact that Doom plays like Doom? Shocking, I know. And no, don't tell me about DSP's fucking hot take that he had.
Now he's praising The Evil Within 2, because The Evil Within 2 is obviously a sequel, and that game is way different than the first game. He's praising it for the same reason that he's saying this game is good. So this game is good because it's a sequel and it's the same. Evil Within 2 is good because it's a sequel and it's different. What fucking constitutes a game not being good? He said in this same video that Shadow of War is like Shadow of whatever the fuck the first game was. And that was a good thing. And then 10 minutes later he tells us that Destiny 2 is like Destiny 1. And he implies that Destiny 2 making sales is bad because it's like Destiny 1. So, because he didn't like Destiny 1, Destiny 2 being like Destiny 1 is a bad thing and the game is illegitimate. But he likes Shadow of War, which is, wow, the current game he's playing, isn't that fucking something, right? It's okay for that to be like the first game, because that game was good. And at the end of the day, it's him defending the game because he wanted to make money off it. And when he can't make money off it anymore, he doesn't give a fuck about it. It's really that simple.
If he gets fucking money while playing this shit, he's gonna change his mind. His points are not even valid. The only character I can really think of who actually uses a shield and can be just as mobile is fucking Captain America. No, not that one. There you go. But the fact that this so-called return to shooters wants to downgrade its speed to almost Doom 3 levels is kind of depressing. Even John Carmack and people who may or may not have worked on Doom 1 and Doom 2 when Doom 3 was in development, you can still play Doom 3 as if it was a classic shooter. It just has a lot of mechanics refined, but it didn't take away that core gameplay. There's also mods too that disable the reloading mechanic, but both Half-Life 2 and Doom 3 came out the same fucking year. Doom 3 was not trying to be this revival of the first-person genre. Whatever, not gonna really get into super semantics, but you wanna know what Doom 3 also had? Multiplayer, and for some reason Doom Dark Ages is not even having it. The people who are working at id Software in name only now do not understand that people don't want a Call of Duty clone in their Doom game, or that people don't want a shitty multiplayer gimmick that's only going to be played for maybe a month at best, with most of the unlocks literally for said multiplayer mode. Even developers are still doing this for games today. Even fucking Sonic Superstars, a game that I can honestly say is pretty alright so far, has a fucking tacked on multiplayer mode. And yet, id Software in name only is doing exactly that. Even Rage had a tacked on multiplayer mode with a really pointless co-op, which I guess to be fair, it had split screen on console, but the main focus of the multiplayer was the vehicular combat, which nobody asked for. It would have been fine if they also included, the thing that gave Doom life to begin with, the fucking competitive aspect. And before anyone tells me that people don't play Doom for the multiplayer, you tell me if Halo can get away with releasing a game without fucking multiplayer. I feel that Doom and Halo, despite the latter being inspired by the former, its multiplayer actually has just about as much weight as the campaign. Which is surprising since, as much as I may not like playing the Halo campaigns anymore, the multiplayer, provided it has, the thing that lets people enjoy the damn things but are never included, is just as important to its success. Even Halo Infinite is much of a piece of shit that is. And the fact that they're basically selling you $60 DLC. You'll have people defending Doom Dark Ages not having multiplayer, but, it's almost as if Hugo Martin can just take a fucking lesson and go back to basics, which he's failing as usual, but, they'll always claim that we're just judging too early, even though people literally do that. Just look how people reacted to Sonic Frontiers, and you tell me people were reacting prematurely or otherwise. And then people take Donkey's opinions super seriously and shit. But sure, we can't judge the game yet because there's barely anything out there. You people are fucking hypocrites. Also, speaking of context, why is Hugo Martin so fucking autistically obsessed with the story in a fucking Doom game, okay? The pointless codex entries in Doom 2016 and the absolute nonsense story direction in Doom Eternal. Why is he trying to write a fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe tier fanfiction featuring properties he didn't even fucking create? Now, sure, Bethesda and whoever side company Bethesda may own Doom now, but to me, John Carmack, John Romero, and whoever else may be living are the ones who created Doom, and if they want to do all that bullshit, fine, but Hugo Martin was not there in fucking 1992, so why does he get say on what shitty direction that Doom gets to go into now? It's fucking stupid. Legit. Doom's story is relatively simple, yes, but the fact that Hugo Martin wants to expand the one point about Doomslayer killing demons for 6 hours and having a meaningful plot is just fucking stupid. It just makes no sense to me. Even something like Doom 3, which tried to have a story per se, most of the story bits weren't really integral to the gameplay. The only bits that are really there were the opening cutscene setting the theme of the game, and then the occasional cutscene which shows the monster introductions, and maybe in between all that are cutscenes between Petruger and the other dude with shades, I forget his name. But even Doom 3, as cinematic as that was, the story wasn't the big focus, but yet Hugo Martin wants to have that for some reason in a fucking Doom game. A Doom game. Legit, even Halo doesn't have that big of a fucking story. And even if Halo wants to have its novels based on the Xbox game, whatever, you didn't have to necessarily read those to get the context of the game. Sure, it would help, but unfortunately people like Can't You Read DW Terminator wants to use that against the Halo games. Which is kind of shitty in my opinion, since even of all the times I played the Halo trilogy, ODST, and Reach, their campaigns back before I got tired of the RNG checkpoint nonsense. Yes, probably reading the books or whatever would have helped, but even what is provided in-game at least made enough sense, to me at least, even though I'm not cinematic sin tears of looking through each and every pixel and polygon in the center of the universe. I didn't have to read those to understand what was going on. It would have helped, but it's not necessary. But with Doom, you basically read every fucking codex entry, and even some codex entries in 2016 are basically required into reading to understand what the fuck is going on in Eternal. It's so obnoxious. And people defend this too. Whoever cared about reading about codex entries in the game series that never had much focus on story to begin with? Hell, games like Diablo didn't even have much center of attention on fucking story. It had focus on lore. You know what other game has focus on lore, but people defend the story? Yeah, it's pretty fucking ironic, isn't it? Whatever. Let's talk about the fucking other sequences where you aren't ripping and tearing, as the kids say these days. So the game's going to feature set pieces of where you're going to be riding on a dragon this time, which all I can really say is that if Hugo Martin pulls a fucking Turok Evolution in 2025, that is going to be sad. And I'm not just talking about the inherently flawed design of the on-foot sections, I'm talking about the pterodactyl sections where you're playing his Tal set before he became Turok, and then just spending a good chunk of the game riding on fucking pterodactyls. I swear, this game is somehow almost parallel with Turok Evolution, and I'm not even trying to be funny about that. You have a prequel set before the main events of the game, you're riding on dinosaurs to get around and shooting shit, and there's no multiplayer. Okay, I know the console versions had it, but it's so fucking undercooked, I'm not even gonna fucking bother counting it. Just for the sake of my own fucking arguments. And of course, as with the other games, the saving system is probably going to be shit. And speaking of evolution, this game is gonna have de novo. Let's talk about the one thing that I'm actually going to give Doom Dark Ages props for. Yes, I know this is fucking shocking coming from me. But unfortunately, this has people's panties twisted knot. And that is because the game is going to have a custom difficulty selection. And what do I mean by this? Well, as of games like The Last of Us Part 2 and other games with accessible settings, Doom Dark Ages is going to have exactly that. Now, I don't know if Hugo Martin is going to go full Insomniac Games by having a literal degree lessness mode with a push of a toggle, or having accessibility features with the main excuse of people for having those things is that not every gamer can play everything, so we have to dumb down the game as physically as possible. Even though if you try to bring up these exact same points to something like Dark Souls, people get pissed off at you and tell you to go kill yourself. It's fucking amazing. Now, obviously, joking aside, obviously don't go do that. You're a fucking asshole if you do. I don't have a problem with this general direction of custom difficulty in the sense that you can change things like how much resources you receive. Please, for the love of fucking Baphomet, do not repeat the same mistakes that Eternal did. Please, for the love of fucking Baphomet. I probably said that wrong, but I don't fucking care. There's also other things like increasing damage received and input and other stuff, and honestly, I'm kind of intrigued by this because I've always said that games like Sniper Elite 4 and even games like Thief 2014 having custom difficulty options will allow people to find ways to make the games more interesting. Hell, even Ultra Kill, a game I also despise for very many degree levels of reason, also being an early access game sold at almost nearly fucking full price, by the way, for early access standards, actually has a shit ton of accessibility in that you can not only play a game as you see fit, but also having other pleasurable ways of playing the game. I'm just not even gonna get into that actual degenerate shit, but people want to call Lolicon and Shotokan part of the problem. Anyway, people are calling this shit woke SJW propaganda pushing bullshit because I guess people are tainted by the fact that Insomnia had something similar with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and even something which I personally complained about, the fact that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart literally had easy invincibility options, whereas even in the 2016 game, a game that I equally hated, probably as much as Doom 2016, but then Streets of Rage 4 took the spot when Doom Eternal came out that year, which is surprising if you think about it for about 2 minutes. The problem with this so-called accessibility menu is that they're not trying to cater to people who are legitimately disabled and that they can't use all their fingers and thumbs to play the game, or that their hand-eye coordination may not be up to par. It's just basically a lazy man's excuse to dumb down the game as much as possible and then feel like they get part of that participation trophy. If I'm even saying that shit correctly again, I don't know. Nor do I fucking care. Even in games like FIFA 2014 and Sniper Elite 4, if you do make the values too low for yourself, you don't get credit for beating those as if you were playing on the hardest difficulty. So you can't just put the game on, say, Nightmare difficulty, but then make everything as if you're playing an I'm Too Young to Die. You're not really playing on Nightmare, you're just playing a sorted version that makes the game think it's Nightmare, but you're not really playing a Nightmare, if that makes sense. I really hope to God that id Software, I almost said From Software, I really hope to God that id Software in name only actually makes that if you do tinker the game's custom difficulty options, that they won't reward people who try to cheese or cheat. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna fucking say it. People who cheat their way to get to Ultra Nightmare because, well, as much as I find that one credit clear run completely pointless, there is a reason why that coveted gold armor is actually worth showing off in the few times Doomslayer goes in the third person. Because you did something and you earned it and you can show it off with pride and joy. And the fact that these people want to cry that they're not being part of the big boys club because they couldn't get their participation trophy is honestly kind of absurd. There are lots of awards in games that can be, you know, that thing that it's called rewarding. If you can just buy it as a DLC, or if you can just, like, input a cheat code to get it anyway, it's not really so coveted. Now, yes, you can argue specific semantics, but that's why it's a reward for those who persevere for the game's hardest challenge. Even though not all the hardest challenges are worth it, but there's still a reason why such rewards have big weight on them, and that the payoff, at least to me, should be, well, the reason to grind, as the kids say. I'm perfectly fine with the game having this degree of custom difficulty, just not the baby mode shit that people had to argue with me about back when Rift Apart was a thing. And it just makes the game even more boring than Sin. But whatever. There are probably going to be other things in this game that are going to annoy me, and probably no doubt have me fighting people like One Boom going on about stupid controller shit in his Doom Eternal video, which was fucking horrible, by the way. Jesus. Hopefully this will be the rant about Doom Dark Ages until Hugo Martin says something really fucking stupid that I'm going to have to retire from slumber and go back to being my pessimistic piece of shit self. So, you're probably wondering, how am I going to torture myself while talking about Doom Dark Ages? Very simple, actually. I'm going to go play master levels for Doom 2. And TNT Evolution. At the same time. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm gonna go do literally anything else besides talking about Doom Dark Ages because, well, this topic is mad boring and it's gonna no doubt piss people off, especially in the commentary community and the elitist Doom Slayers Club who think they're hot shit when, well, they're just shit and not hot. Now, drop it like it's hot. I'm gotta go rap.